Hello humans! Today I'm going to be looking at a theory that I and my sister came up with last night. Now it may be totally wrong with giant plot holes, or it could be a valid theory that's already out there, everywhere. But this came to us in our own time. The main premise of the theory is that in The Last Jedi, Luke Skywalker will turn to the dark side. Now there are a lot of theories that Rey joins Kylo Ren, but less of Luke doing so. My favorite YouTuber, game/film theorist Matthew Patrick, talked about his theory of The Force Awakens, where he theorized that Luke was going to be on the dark side in The Force Awakens. He might still be right about that. I'm going to be showing some evidence I found myself and add in the evidence that Matthew talks about in his video. Please watch this video before mine, because from here on I'm going to suppose that Luke is at least on the very edge of turning to the dark side when we see him in The Force Awakens, and then later on in The Last Jedi. So please go and watch this video right now. Okay, we will also suppose that Rey is at least linked to Obi-Wan Kenobi in some way, because let's face it, why else would she have heard him saying Rey in the lightsaber flashback scene? Okay, so let's start about how Luke is on the edge of the dark side. Now that The Force Awakens has come out, we can add in some evidence following Matt Pat's video. For example, the scene where Han explains what happened to Luke.
Why did he leave?
He was training a new generation of Jedi. One boy, an apprentice, turned against him, destroyed it all. Luke felt responsible. He just walked away from everything. People that knew him best think he went looking for the first Jedi temple.
First of all, Luke chose the easy way out. Instead of facing the problem he created, he ran away, consumed by his emotion of guilt. Secondly, he might have run away because he was drawn to the dark side and he knew it. Leaving his saber and everything else behind, he protected his friends by making it hard for them to find him, because he might have known that he could be dangerous. The Jedi Temple might be his attempt at finding his way back to the light, mirroring Kylo Ren trying to find his way into the dark. It's creating a rhyme like in poetry. The dark side in Luke is again amplified when Rey reaches out the lightsaber to Luke at the very end of The Force Awakens. He looks like he's tempted, but that he can't take it. In addition, the first thing we see in the lightsaber flashback scene is the hallway where Luke and Darth Vader fought, and where Vader tried to make Luke join the dark side. We also later hear the "no" from Luke finding out Darth Vader is his father. The audio creates a negative emotion of fear, sadness, and anger, and visually the scene turns dark with rain and flames, again mirroring those dark emotions. We also see the silhouette of Luke touching R2-D2 with his robot hand, the one thing that linked him physically with his father. Okay, now that we know that Luke is probably on the edge of joining the dark side, let's look for the evidence that Kylo is the one that wants Luke to join the dark side in the first place. First of all, it's obvious Kylo wants to find Luke, even more so than all the other First Order officers, including Supreme Leader Snoke. Most of the things Kylo does in The Force Awakens suggests this goal. From the very first scene of the movie, we see the First Order stormtroopers go down to the village where BB-8 is hiding with Poe Dameron, who has the map to Luke. Then we just have most of Kylo's lines telling us that that's what he wants.
What I've come for. The map to Skywalker. The old man gave it to you. No one has been able to get out of you what you did with the map. Where is it? Where is it? It's in a droid, a BB unit.
Well then, if it's on Jakku, we'll soon have it.
I leave that to you. The droid. Where is it? The map. You've seen it.
Tell me about the droid.
He's a BB unit with a selenium drive and a thermal hyperscan vindicator.
It's carrying a section of a navigational chart. And we have the rest. Recovered from the archives of the Empire, but we need the last piece. And somehow you convinced the droid to show it to you.
The map seems to be Kylo's personal interest. The others don't care if it's destroyed.
was explicit. Capture the droid if we can, but destroy it if we must.
How capable are your soldiers, General? Then they should have no problem retrieving the droid. Unharmed.
Careful, Ren. That your personal interests not interfere with orders from Leader Snoke.
I want that map. For your sake, I suggest you get it.
And the droid?
Ren believed it was no longer valuable to us. That the girl was all we needed. As a result, the droid has most likely been returned to the hands of the enemy. They may have the map already.
Then the Resistance must be destroyed before they get to Skywalker. Prepare the weapon.
Supreme Leader, I can get the map from the girl. I just need your guidance.
Now that we know that Kylo absolutely wants to find Luke himself, let's look at how Kylo wants to bring Luke to the dark side. Okay, let's start with Kylo's talk with the Darth Vader mask in The Force Awakens. Jokes everywhere about what exactly Darth Vader started that Kylo wants to finish.
And I will finish what you started.
But if you look back to the Return of the Jedi, one of the main objectives of Darth Vader was to bring Luke to the dark side. So what if that's what Kylo wants to continue, to finish? Going back to the lightsaber flashback and what Han tells Rey about Luke leaving, we can see that Luke left after Kylo destroyed his Jedi school. If Luke ran away to not be seduced by the dark side, maybe even back then, Kylo knew the strength of Luke and was already trying to bring him to the dark side. We can also see that in The Force Awakens, Kylo is interested in training Rey as opposed to just killing her.
You need a teacher! I could show you the ways of the Force!
This might be reflecting a goal he might have with Luke. Now, if we assume that Kylo's main motivation is to find Luke and to bring him to the dark side, the reason of Kylo killing all the villagers and Han Solo, Luke's best friend, and then, in The Last Jedi, also potentially Leia, his sister, might be to get Luke angry and emotional, two main concepts of the dark side. Okay, now that we've looked at the clues from The Force Awakens, let's move on to the Last Jedi trailers and so on. Following up from the theory that Luke is trying to hide because he feels the pull to the dark, another piece of evidence suggesting this is his reluctance to train Rey. This is very visible in the trailers. Just watch these clips.
I've seen this raw strength only once before. It didn't scare me enough then. It does now. This is not going to go the way you think.
We also get a clue of Luke's reluctance to properly train Rey in this behind the scenes.
Daisy is training for a moment where she is on the islands and she has a moment to herself and she's practicing with the staff. And then she realizes, well, am I wasting my time practicing with the staff? I have Luke Skywalker's lightsaber in my satchel.
He doesn't want to train Rey with a lightsaber. Now that we know that Luke is not very enthusiastic about being a teacher or being any part of this fight or this training, let's get into some more direct dark side reference. First of all, in the trailer, we see Luke in the dark at some point. And even more obvious, in the teaser trailer, he says,
It's time for the Jedi to end.
It's time for the Jedi to end. Another clue in the trailer suggesting Luke's turn, or at least Kylo's will to turn him, is what Kylo says.
Let the past die.
Kill it. If you have to. That's the only way to become what you were meant to be.
What if he's talking to Luke? What Snoke says in the trailer can also be directed to Luke, mirroring the Return of the Jedi. Fulfill your destiny.
Fulfill your destiny.
Kylo extending his hand might be him extending his hand to Luke. The editing of the trailer can be misleading, so Luke being the one talked to in all those trailer scenes would be a surprise to the mainstream audience. Okay, let's wrap this up. In The Force Awakens, Kylo tries to get the map to Luke to find him and bring him to the dark side, trying to anger him on the way there. As we've seen, Luke is already almost seduced by the dark side, reluctant to get involved in anything involving the fight against the First Order. As such, his Force involvement might completely turn him to the dark side in The Last Jedi. Okay, so how exactly would the rest of the trilogy go? If The Last Jedi mirrors The Empire Strikes Back, the dark side should kinda win this time. That means that Luke might join the dark side in the end. And then for the third movie, or at the end of The Last Jedi, Kylo Ren joins the light side to bring back a balance. And finally, in the third film, Kylo Ren fights side by side with Rey to destroy evil Luke and the First Order. This would mirror the first trilogy if indeed Rey is linked to Obi-Wan Kenobi in some way. A Skywalker relative, Kylo, and a Kenobi, Rey, fighting side by side against a Skywalker. So, what do you think? Leave a comment down below if you agree or disagree. And see you all after The Last Jedi when we can all laugh about how wrong this was. I'm just kidding, I'm pretty confident. But what do I know? It's just a theory. A film theory. And I hope I don't get sued for this. Just a look at the posters, and it's pretty obvious that something's off about Luke Skywalker.